Fake news and the real digital print opportunity. Kate works on our new business team here in the UK. I work on marketing for digital output across Europe, and between us we're going to give you an idea of where we believe the digital print opportunity is, and where perhaps some of the headlines that you see are perhaps not taking over the world, shall we say. And if you're involved in, as a brand, as a designer, as a converter, or even as a consumer of packaging, then how much of that you're seeing is actually digital and how much is printed by traditional technologies. And one of the first things that when I see this, it's going to come up in a minute, there you go, CAGR, when I see that on a report or a statistic, my mind starts to work overtime. Anyone know what CAGR means?
Can I scan your badge, madam, please?
I know you do. You ought to. Compound annual growth rate.
Thank you.
And if you subscribe to reports like these, and both of these came past my email this week, and I must give it to EasyFairs for the amount of promotion they've done for this show. Every day I was seeing something somewhere from them. But headlines like extensive growth, and a report you can buy for just £4,500 that tells you the future of interactive and intelligent packaging. Now there's sort of a dilemma here. If you're going to buy a report and spend £4,500 on it, it better be a market that's going to grow, and it better be a market that's got a big CAGR. Otherwise, why would you buy it? You buy the report, you spend £4,500, and it tells you the market's a dud. You're not going to do that. So there's sort of a self-serving attitude to this, that when you get a report, and Smithers Pirate are a bona fide great organisation, and we subscribe to their reports, but you always know it's going to be a positive one, but the graphic goes like that, or in your case, like that. So, what's the problem with digital packaging? Conversely to my colleague from HP who's going to speak this afternoon saying how great it is, I agree it's great, but there's some problems too. One of the problems is millennials. Now millennials are classified as basically my kids who were born between 1980 and 2000 because it's got a picture of them on it, because it mentions where they live, or their street, or their football team, or whatever else. So come on guys in the packaging industry, let's all get together and produce lots of digital products that these people are going to buy. And so you get reports like this. I'm not going to say who this came from, I'm not going to say what particular vendor this came from, but the headlines they say have all got CAGR after them, compound annual growth rate, always means big numbers. So the folding carton market in digital is going to grow by 40%. The flexible market is going to grow by 32%, and the on-shape, printing straight onto bottles and cans and stuff like that, is going to grow by 44%. But the hidden figure, only 3% of the market is digital at the moment. Now you can be a cynic like me, or an optimist like Kate. Kate's the optimistic one here, so she's telling you the good news, I'm just giving you the bad stuff. At 3%, that's not very much of the market, is it? But Kate would say, that means we've got 97% to go for. And it isn't being converted to digital yet. So why not? Why not? Is it not happening in the packaging market? It's happening in other markets. Look at the book market. 8% of books are printed digitally at the moment. And it's due to grow to 16% by 2020. Why is that not happening the same way in the packaging industry? The reason it's happening in books is it's quite simple. It's a decline in volume for run length of individual books. The digital quality, sometimes digital quality isn't as good as offset. I'll argue with that later. But in a book, quality is not so important for a pulp fiction novel. And production processes in book production, hope there's no book printers here, are quite simple and straightforward really, compared to packaging. If you're a designer, you know how creative you want to be in the packaging world and make life difficult for people who are doing the printing and converting. Another reason why the growth might not be so big is what we've seen in US supermarkets. It's very similar here in Europe as well. A 4% growth every year in the number of SKUs in a standard average supermarket. So back in 1975, a supermarket might have had about 9,000 lines. Now they've got 42,000, and that was in 2014, so it's growing all the time. And if you put personalised, regionalised, customised things into this supply chain, it's going to fall to pieces. The logistics of it just aren't going to work, getting all those things to the right place at the right time and selling them before they get out of date. So it's hard work. Look at a particular campaign here, who a friend of mine is going to be talking about this afternoon. It's a coincidence, by the way. When KitKat decided they wanted to do a personalised campaign, they offered 55,000 personalised packs that you could get. You had to go into store and buy a standard pack of KitKat. Inside, you found that if you'd won the opportunity to have a KitKat with a picture of you and your mates on it. And If that's what floats your boat, then that's what you can do. So if you open your packet, say yes, you won, you went online, you put your photo on, but all of these were fulfilled by post, not through the retail chain, because it's too difficult to do it through the retail chain. So they're fulfilled by post. Put 55,000, a good number. I hear that actually the campaign, because you could go on there and pay for it if you hadn't won, they actually printed over 100,000 of these packs. Compared to 3 million though, it's not very much. Now that was a campaign over 2 months, 55,000, 100,000 if you want to be generous. 3 million Kit Kats are made every day. So it's a tiny part. It's a great headline, it's a great story, and it's a great publicity thing, but as far as the volume of the market goes, it's still not got that momentum yet, and we need to get there somehow. Now the story among the brands, and this picture's changing all the time. I think Mondelez are buying some of Nestle's brands in the States at the moment. This is changing all the time. The feedback from the brands, there's two sides to this story. One is, I heard a guy at a seminar recently from Unilever saying some of my top brands don't want to personalise things. They think it makes their brand look cheap. They want their brand to be premium, not change, be stable, always look the same. They don't want somebody's face on it. They don't want a badly taken photograph being plonked on the front of their packaging. Whereas a guy from Nestle said, we're looking at making our brand colours compatible with CMYK printing. And when at this seminar there was a room full of people, digital print vendors like us, we all said, hurrah! CMYK is the best because it's just a pain to put spot colours on everything. So the printing industry likes that idea, so it's a mixed message. So I've been quite down on digital print really, and it's time to bring the mood back up and look at what is the real digital print opportunity. So I'm going to give this dangerous device to Kate, and she's going to tell you something more positive.
Right, yeah. We talked to you this morning about prototyping and how it can be a positive in your business. So prototyping is a critical step in any new product development project, also known as a mock-up or comp, can be a crucial piece of bringing life to a package that will generate a personal connection between a brand and its consumer. Providing an exact replica of the product packaging that someone can physically touch and hold gives the ability to fully understand the final intent of a concept. This reduces the time to market as the mock-up can be visualised and evaluated to identify any potential manufacturing issues early on in the design process. Prototyping really does make a difference. It drives efficiency into the whole process and consequently to help to avoid any speed bumps that could consequently cause time and money. So the digital print opportunity now becomes clear. Fujifilm's Acuity LED 1602 hybrid printer is highly versatile thanks to its UV technology and advanced ink features. It can print 6 colours plus white and clear and can apply these in a single pass to produce a high glossy finish. It can handle a wide variety of substrates, allowing it to be used for vast applications, but increasingly for the production of high quality prototypes. We've got some here if you want to have a look at.
Shall I pass them around?
Afterwards. Yes, please do.
Carry on. I'll just carry on.
So the printer can achieve lots of different finishes. Spot varnish using clear ink incorporates eye-catching elements to the print. Embossing and debossing, adding depth and impact to the design with a textural appeal. And emulation of foiling and metallic inks, simply done by printing onto a metallic mirror board and printing white under selected areas. And this creates the same visual effect as foiling at the finishing stage. So all perfected on one device in one operation, so whether it be for pitch work, packaging, prototyping, or light production runs for shelf testing. Which brings me on to a customer, Fujifilm, Curtis Packaging. They're based down in Redhill, and I met with James Williams, the MD, and he talked to me about how the LED has benefited his company. Prior to installing the LED, they subcontracted their prototypes to a local printer but felt the standard wasn't quite what they were after. They pride themselves on delivery of beautifully designed and manufactured packaging produced in an environmentally friendly way. They provide a full service to their customers from consultation through to final production and delivery. So it's key that every step displays their commitment to quality and sustainability. As the focus turned, so did the need for improved sales tools that could reflect Curtis's capabilities in that market. That and their desire to have more control over their work meant they started looking for a printer that would allow to bring prototyping in-house and accurately display the quality of packaging that they can offer. This meant having a printer that could print onto different surfaces, rigid or flexible, whilst providing a high quality finish that didn't compromise on speed or impinge on their sustainable methods. So a visit to the Fujifilm stand at FESPA helped them make that change to their business. Since the installation, the LED has consistently impressed its customers, a victim of its own success, he told me. In the past, they had to offer caveats with their prototypes, explaining that the finished product would be much better. The quality now makes a real impact and gives the customer a very good idea of how the finished piece will look. When you are in the business of high quality packaging, you need to be able to show the customers a high quality prototype. They can now do this in-house with complete flexibility, and they have secured new customers and ultimately have grown their business 50% year on year. Over the years, Curtis have won many awards, and last year they won UK Packaging Awards 2017, SME of the Year, and at Print Week they won FMCG Packaging Printer of the Year, so congratulations to Curtis. They are here today and they will be exhibiting on stand B43 should you want to go and speak to them. And not forgetting the environment, the LED has low energy lamps, there's no wasted heat, no harmful VOCs, no toxic metal halide lamps, and prints PVC replacement recyclable polyolefin films. And all this is done running off a 13 amp plug. So I shall pass you back over to my cynic Mark, who will talk to you about the circular economy.
You may have thought what I presented earlier was a little bit challenging. This is really challenging. Has anyone heard of the circular economy? I only heard of it probably 6 or 8 months ago. Yeah, oh, a few. That's good, that's good. This is a big thing. The idea that we stop using raw materials and we make everything we've got out of recycled materials. A very tall order. But let me show you a little movie that explains it far easier than I can. Explains it in childlike terms, which are easy for people like me to understand. It'll work in a minute.
Living systems have been around for a few billion years and will be around for many more. In the living world, there's no landfill. Instead, materials flow. One species' waste is another's food, energy is provided by the sun, things grow, then die, and nutrients return to the soil safely. And it works. Yet as humans, we've adopted a linear approach. We take, we make, and we dispose. A new phone comes out, so we ditch the old one. Our washing machine packs up, so we buy another. Each time we do this, we're eating into a finite supply of resources and often producing toxic waste. It simply can't work long term. So what can? If we accept that the living world's cyclical model works, can we change our way of thinking so that we too operate a circular economy? Let's start with the biological cycle. How can our waste build capital rather than reduce it? By rethinking and redesigning products and components and the packaging they come in, we can create safe and compostable materials that help grow more stuff. As they say in the movies, no resources have been lost in the making of this material. So what about the washing machines, mobile phones, fridges? We know they don't biodegrade. Here, we're talking about another sort of rethink, a way to cycle valuable metals, polymers and alloys so they maintain their quality and continue to be useful beyond the shelf life of individual products. What if the goods of today became the resources of tomorrow? It makes commercial sense. Instead of the throw away and replace culture we've become used to, we'd adopt a return and renew one, where products and components are designed to be disassembled and regenerated. One solution may be to rethink the way we view ownership. What if we never actually owned our technologies? We simply licensed them from the manufacturers. Now, let's put these two cycles together. Imagine if we could design products to come back to their makers, their technical materials being reused and their biological parts increasing agricultural value. And imagine that these products are made and transported using renewable energy. Here we have a model that builds prosperity long term. And the good news is, there are already companies out there who are beginning to adopt this way of working. But the circular economy isn't about one manufacturer changing one product. It's about all the interconnecting companies that form our infrastructure and economy coming together. It's about energy. It's about rethinking the operating system itself. We have a fantastic opportunity to open new perspectives and new horizons. Instead of remaining trapped in the frustrations of the present, with creativity and innovation, we really can rethink and redesign our future.
Does it make you want to just get up in the morning and recycle things and reuse them in some way? It's a high goal. It's a very high goal to achieve, and it's going to take quite a while to do it. And there are things in the way of this goal. For example, people like this who just want to dig everything up and pay people to do it, make things, and then all the waste they can just throw over a wall they've just built. So it's not everybody who's on side with this, but I think in Europe we're a bit more ahead than some other countries. At Fujifilm, we've got a desire to get towards this. I can't say we're building equipment and components that can be easily recycled at the moment. We're thinking about it, we're working towards it, but we've got nothing that we can just give you and say, use that till it breaks, then send it back, and we'll make it into something else. Although some components of what we do will do that. So what can we do that's practical, that we can do today, that can help with this issue? I think Kate's got an answer for this one as well in a second, when I've talked about this slide I forgot all about, which is from what they're doing in Holland. And in Holland, they've said, we're going to have a full circular economy by 2050. It's only 30 odd years away. By 2030, we want to use 50% less raw materials in our manufacturing. Now at the moment, Holland's leading the way. 80% of their waste is recycled, so they're in the right direction. But only 8% is used as raw material to create new products. So it's still a challenge. But the Dutch, they're crazy. Every Dutch person I meet says, I'm crazy, and they're quite proud of it. But they really want to get to this target. So one way of getting to the target, Kate, I think you're going to tell us why you've got David Attenborough on the screen.
I am. So David Attenborough thankfully alerted the public to the enormous issues that we have with pollution in our oceans. Between 5 and 30 million tonnes of plastic leaks into the world oceans each year, and by 2050 the ocean will contain more plastic by weight than fish. So the same issues with the coffee cups. The UK throws away 3.5 billion disposable coffee cups every year. Less than 1% of these cups are recycled, and 500,000 cups are littered every day, and this is increasing year on year. And in fact, at the beginning of the week, Starbucks, it was out in the media, brought out a latte levy, and they're charging 5p for a disposable cup. They brought that into, I think, about 35 stores in London. So at least people are starting to make a start to recycling. So the answer is a product that is 100% recyclable, biodegradable, compostable and carbon balanced. This is where Delipack is different. Delipack provides a superlative, fully sustainable, innovative packaging board designed for food and drink. That is 100% recyclable, biodegradable, compostable and carbon balanced.
Can I just, I'll pass
Yes.
some samples around just to explain. These ones were produced by Alexia, a printing company who are just over there somewhere. Find them. They're produced on the Xerox iGen, a wonderful device and a company that's very close to our heart because we're sort of making friends at the moment. No comment about that. And these were printed on the same kind of material on the Fujifilm Jet Press, which I'll be talking to you about later. So this side of the room gets a big sheet and these ones get some little packs to pass around. There you go. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. From this, you can see the worldwide waste, the coffee cup mountains and the plastic in our oceans. And to this, Delipack, a sustainable product packaging for food to go. So whether it be a coffee cup, a salad, sandwich case, Delipack takes just 90 days to biodegrade. PE laminated materials can take hundreds of years in landfill. So in a nutshell, good for the environment, but also good for business. So all this, negating the need for expensive and high carbon footprint disposable processes, whilst retaining complete flexibility in sustainable recycling options. Delipack were awarded unanimous winner of EcoPack Challenge 2017, so congratulations to Delipack. And they are exhibiting here today on stand G14 should you want to find out more information. That's Mark.
Okay, thank you. So the reason we're promoting Delipack is we found their material works really well and prints really well on our devices. So the LED printer that Kate talked about for prototyping, we printed on the Delipack material, fantastic. We printed our own jet press, which I'm going to talk to you about in a second, prints really well. And it's not, obviously they're not the only devices that will work. But we have got some representatives from Delipack here this morning, so when it comes to Q&A, there's Mark. When it comes to Q&A in the end, if you've got any specific questions, like what is the magic coating on the back, you won't even tell me, so you can ask if you want, but you probably won't get it. So back to the circular economy. When it comes to choosing technology, then if you're a converter here thinking what press should I buy, then that's pretty simple for me to tell you it should be that one because that's the one Fujifilm made. Okay? But if you're a converter or you're a designer or you're a brand manager and you're thinking, well, do I need to know about the printing process? Does it matter? For the sake of ecology and sake of the circular economy, then yes it does, because some devices use more resources than others. So we did a kind of trial. What we said to one of our jet press users was, okay, this is a jet press user in Spain called Achawa. There are over 100 jet presses in the country. It's a press produced by Fujifilm. I'm not going to talk about technology too much, but it produces a sheet this size and prints with inkjet ink. And it's great for packaging and other commercial applications. They're one of our 100 users. And they said, well, in a year we probably print about 4 million sheets. That's not an awful lot. You could print more on a jet press, but they find that's the level that it works for them. They make a profit printing with that machine, that volume. That would be 6,000 jobs, and our average run length would be 666. So reasonably low run length work. So we decided we'll compare this with offset, and we'll compare it with another leading digital technology. Now you might say it's unfair to compare it with offset. What offset press would you put 6,000 jobs on with an average run length of 666? Well, really you wouldn't. But when you talk about short runs and runs coming down, you've got to have something to address the issues that you get when you try that. And we made a big chart and we managed all the waste streams and the volumes of chemicals and oils and all kinds of things. I won't read that to you, but I will show you these quick charts here. And they say printing plates on an offset press, about 8 tons of aluminium used in a year on an offset printing press, a few photo imaging plates on a leading competitor, but none at all on the jet press. And with blankets, again, a different volume of blankets on other technologies, none on the jet press. And waste sheets, 67 tons of waste paper would come off an offset press if it printed those volumes. A lot better on other digital technologies, with jet press leading the way, of course. I'm bound to say that because I've suddenly become very positive and stopped being cynical. So when you put that in a summary and you say, okay, I've got 25,000 litres of water on an offset press, including the plate making, I've got 67 tons of paper, I've got 8.4 tons of aluminium, and then I look at how much does it cost me, not in money, but in carbon output per kilometre, per tonne, then all you have to do is multiply some of these figures together and you start getting telephone numbers and you realise it's a problem. And you as brand owners, designers, specifiers need to think, do I need to have a story about this? Do I need to consider it when I'm looking at what technology I buy? In Holland, back to Holland again, you might wonder why I mentioned Holland. It's because in Holland they have a scheme where if you buy some technology that saves resources, the Dutch government will give you a tax break. They will give you money off your corporation tax. So in Holland they've made a code, my favourite code, B1281, and it means that if you buy a Fujifilm jet press, because these rules here only apply to the Fujifilm jet press, you will get around 70 or 80,000 euros off the price in tax relief. So that is how they're trying to get people towards this target of 2050 total circular economy. And what we're doing with JetPress is not saying there's components in there that we want to recycle, but we're saying, just going back to this slide for a second, you don't have to worry about transporting your waste and recycling it because we're not creating the waste in the first place. And surely that's better than just saying we can recycle stuff. Recycling paper is great, but it still takes a lot of energy and it takes a lot of transportation and manpower to do. So let me give you a particular case study of a printer of our